What's up, everyone? This is Tim here with Every Good Real Estate. I wanted to do a quick video here on subject to investing, right? And what are some of the key things you should look for when you're analyzing the subject to deals? Because what I've noticed out there in the marketplace, especially a lot of key investors, or I should say actually new investors or investors that have actually been doing investment for a while, perhaps they're used to the extra strategy of just wholesaling or selling to a cash buyer, fixing and flipping. And a lot of times they don't really understand subject to investing and actually how to properly analyze subject to deals. So I just wanted to, spend a few moments. I'm going to make this a two-part video because it's too long and, people's retention spans and things like that. No disrespect, but it's just kind of hard to retain all the information. A lot of times it's also good to kind of not only hear that information, but also kind of chew on it a little bit, right? So, I didn't learn this in a day or two. It took a while because you got to really understand, right? There's a scripture that tells us that wisdom is the principal thing, right? It's the most important thing, but it also says that in all you'll get understanding, right? And if you want to really take your investing game to the next level, especially when it comes to subject to investing, you got to understand how to analyze the subject to deals, because when you're talking to perhaps somebody in foreclosure or maybe which is where we get 90% of our deals, and perhaps and actually at the same time 90% of our deals are actually subject to exit strategy. So this is all we do subject to, right? I've done more subject to deals than actual wholesale cash deals, right? Believe it or not, it's probably like a 10-to-1 ratio. It's insane, right? But you got to understand how to analyze these deals, because the main thing when you're looking at subject to deals, is the exit strategy, right? Right. There's a way you actually talk to homeowners. I think a mistake a lot of new investors make, especially when you're going after pre-foreclosures, is they talk about buying. Do you want to sell your home? I want to buy. Like, you never even you never ever even mention selling or buying, right? Let them mention it. You're like, yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. However, you're not really looking to necessarily buy it. You really want to help them solve that problem, because a lot of times you can solve that problem, but it might not even be with you. You just kind of give them the information, right? You just kind of be a guide to help them at the end of the day, because we tell them our main priority is helping them solve their issue. And that's the truth. It's a thing of integrity. You got to mean that. If you don't, just say, hey, look, you want to make a profit, but integrity is more important. But that's a separate video we might do sometime later in the future on, the 6 options, right? I call it like the McDonald's menu. I tell tellers kind of like you're going to McDonald's, right? These are your 6 options, right? Which nobody tells you, right? Because if you talk to these different individuals or these different stakeholders looking to maybe help you in a subject to pre-foreclosure situation, they're only going to tell you what they can do. However, what we do is we're going to tell you what everyone else can do, and what we can do. We're going to give you what I call the McDonald's Chick-fil-A menu, right? When you walk into a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, right, you can see all your options on the table and you pick what's best for you and your family. We just try to educate you on each particular piece, and it's up to you to kind of pick, hey, this works best for you and your family. And if our option is what works for you, good. If not, hey, this helps you, because at the end of the day, it's about helping you and your problems, about you, not about us, right? So that's something different. We can talk about that later. However, for this particular video, I wanted to kind of talk about if you're analyzing the deal. Let's say you're talking to a homeowner, and this can be a pre-foreclosure, it can be a divorce situation, it can be from abandoned sign, Facebook marketing, it can be from SEO from your website, it can be from social media, it can be any kind of marketing channel, it can be word of mouth, right? The key is how to properly analyze the deal. So there are a few factors you want to look at, right, when you're talking to a homeowner. And perhaps again, maybe later, I'll talk about the exit strategies, because the reason you want all this information is because the more information you know as far as the financials on the property, on this asset, or in that case a liability, but as an investor it should become an asset to you, right, or your end buyer, the more you understand the financials, you'll be able to know which extra strategy to apply, right? So the more information you have, the better. So there are a few things you want to look at from the financial standpoint when you're talking to them. And again, people, when you're talking to them, helping them solve that problem, you built that trust, they're easily going to give you the information. Like, I've never struggled with people that give us the information. There are times people might be hesitant, but you just kind of tell them, like, look, it's to help them, and the more information I give you, you give us, the better we can help you solve your problem, right? So the first thing we normally look at, which some investors don't even think about when they analyze subject to deals, believe it or not, is one of the first things you want to look at is you want to look at the loan origination date, right? When was that loan originated? There are a number of key factors, right? And I don't have time to go into this right now. It's kind of, it takes a little more time to explain, because when you're looking at a particular loan, right? When someone gets a home mortgage loan, one thing you're looking at is something called the amortization schedule. So the schedule that the lender gives them, when they make the payments in month one of 360 months, let's say it's a 30-year amortization, right? On the first month when they make that payment, right, it's going to tell them what the breakdown of the interest is, how much is going to principal, how much is going to the escrow account for the taxes and insurance and things of that nature, right? And if there's a PMI, so forth, right? So the amortization schedule, the reason you want to know the loan origination date is here's why. You can actually pay full price. You can pay more for a home, right? Again, this is an advanced level thing. You can pay more for a home depending on when the where in the amortization schedule it is. Because, for example, if they're like 8 or 9 years into the amortization schedule, and that's where you come in as an investor to buy it, well, they've already paid the majority of the interest up front, normally within the first 5 to 7 years or so on the amortization schedule, especially if it's a 30-year. So that's why you want to kind of know, okay, where in the amortization schedule are they? Because if they're like in year one, if you take this over as a rental or wraparound mortgage or things of that nature, just know a lot of that money is going to be going to interest, right? So those are little things you want to know, right? Is amortization schedule. How long have they had this particular loan in place? Has it been refinanced, right? Have they done loan modifications on there and any kind of special provisions or around this loan? You want to kind of find that out. So the first key thing we're looking at is the loan origination date. The other thing we find out, number two, actually, let me pause. Pardon me. So there are 11 things from the financial standpoint. I'm only going to go through like the first 5. Video 2, I'll do the other. So number 1 is the loan origination amount. Number 2 is the loan origination date is number 1. Number 2 is the loan origination amount. I already kind of jumped ahead of myself. So loan origination amount. Again, why do you want to know that, right? You want to know the date. For example, May 2005, May 14th. The date doesn't matter. It's more important the month and the year. And the amount, right? You want to know the amount because based on the amount the loan origination amount was and how much they owe today, when you're talking to them, you can kind of understand where they are financially as far as the loan is concerned, right? And also you can kind of get a good idea, have they refinanced this? Has there been a loan modification on it? Have they taken out some kind of home equity loan or a HELOC, a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, right? Perhaps. So you want to understand all these. So loan origination date, loan origination amount. Most investors I've talked to, especially if they start, even the ones that have been in the game for a while, when they're collecting information, and if they send me a subject to deal for us to buy, 9 out of 10 times, they don't even have the loan origination date. They don't even ask. They don't even know to ask that because a lot of times it's not even on the mortgage statement in the case of some lenders, right? So loan origination date, you want to find that out. Loan origination amount. And part of the reason why I want to know, because if you look at wholesaling a subject to deal, which we do, and that's a separate video. Some people don't, but hey, great for them. We have our own philosophy around that works for us in our business model, right? A true buyer is going to want to know that. What's the loan origination date? What's the loan origination amount? The third thing we normally looking at a lot of times, which every time I should say, pardon me, is the actual monthly payments, right? How much are the monthly payments, right? What is the PITI? When you're getting the monthly payments, of course, it has to be the PITI, which stands for the principal, the interest, the taxes, and insurance. And the key factor you want to know is there a PMI, private mortgage insurance? So a lot of times, if they buy a house and they didn't put down 20% equity, 20% down payment, or they don't have 20% equity when they purchase the home based on that loan origination date, right? The lender is going to require them to put something called private mortgage insurance in place, right? So you want to make sure you understand the private mortgage insurance, because sometimes you might have a deal that they might not have PMI, or you might have a deal like the PMI falls off like in 2 or 3 years because it's going to have 20% equity. And you can still probably, the numbers might not work up front, but you say, okay, look, it might work in like 6 months. The PMI is going to be coming off, so it might still make sense. So you see why all these key factors are important. So loan origination date, loan origination amount. Also, thirdly, the monthly payments, right? Again, the reason the monthly payments are key is also if you're looking to keep this as a rental or you're a cash buyer, when they're looking at the rental income in the area they're looking to, where this particular asset or this property resides, it kind of helps them do a better due diligence and analysis, right? And also from a cash flow standpoint, if they're looking to keep it as a wrap, a lease option, there are a lot of other factors. So you want to know what the monthly payments are that they're making. The other thing is you can find out based on the PITI, and when you break it down, again, this is a little more advanced stuff. You look at the actual insurance on the property, the insurance they're paying. A lot of times they're probably paying too much on the insurance. So you can reach out to your insurance agent, an investor-friendly insurance agent, and see how can you reduce the monthly insurance premiums they're paying every month, because that can give you better cash flow. Find a way to, you're keeping it as a rental. One strategy you might look at is you might look at a way to protest the taxes to lower your PITI. But here's this, guy. I'm kind of going into details, but it's fine. A lot of things, another thing that a lot of investors miss when it comes to the PITI is when a homeowner 9 out of 10 times providing the PITI, keep in mind their PITI is going to be based on a lot of times they have a homestead exemption. Homestead exemption, basically, long story short, is they're getting some kind of percentage discount on their taxes, their property taxes that they're paying, right, to the local government and the county, the municipalities and things of that nature, for the school districts and whatever, right? So there's a homestead discount built in. So when that comes off the following tax year, a lot of times the PIT goes up. So what we do is when we're analyzing deals, we're analyzing the deal based on not what they're providing us, but if we take off the homestead discount, right? Because we're going to know, okay, this is probably going to bump up 70, 100, 200, 150 more bucks. Does this deal still make sense? And if it still makes sense, projecting a year out when this homestead discount is off, we're looking at the worst case scenario. And if it does, we're good. We're not even banking on lower insurance premiums. We're not necessarily banking on the taxes as far as the homestead. We're banking on how it's going to look when the homestead comes off. Now, what we normally do is we might get a quote from an insurance agent to see what the insurance is. So, as you can see, there are a lot of details when it comes to the monthly payments. 2 more, right? So we mentioned loan origination date, loan origination amount, the monthly payments, PITI. The other thing is, what's the interest rate, right? This is key. Interest rate, what is it, right? Because interest rate is important, because if it's a interest rate, let's say at 3%, right? And if your exit strategy is a wraparound mortgage or wraparound note, right? And you want to go back and resell this, create a wrap around. If you guys don't know what it is, perhaps in a later video we might break down what a wraparound mortgage is. And if you're creating around, if you have an interest rate they're giving you of, let's say 4%, and you create a wrap about 7 or 8%, right, for a wraparound mortgage note that you want to create, right? You want to understand what that is so you can see what your spread is, the yield you're going to get when you create that, right? Again, if it's like a 5-6% rate that they have on their loan, it might not be as enticing to some lenders. Not some lenders, for some buyers, as if you want to wholesale the subject to. So the lower the interest rate, the better. It's not a deal killer, because it might still make sense in some cases, but obviously you always want to know the interest rate. And finally, the 5th thing I'm going to mention on this first step of this video, when you're talking about analyzing the subject to deal, the financials of them, is that interest rate, is it fixed or is it variable, right? Because you don't want to get something that's a variable interest rate and in 2-3 years it adjusts or it goes up, and now the cash flow is off as far as the rental income is concerned, or the wraparound mortgage or the lease option, right? So you want to understand these factors, right? One, thing what sometimes we do is we ask them to send a mortgage statement. I'm going to talk about that more in the next video. So I just wanted to kind of break down how to properly analyze a subject to deal, and what are some key factors and components you're looking for to thoroughly and properly do your due diligence, analyze it, to either keep it for yourself as a cash flow investor, if that's your investor identity, or perhaps if you want to kind of pass it on to a specific, subject to cash buyer, so to speak, right? So 5 things, right? Analyzing the deal. Part 1, loan origination amount, loan origination date, the monthly payments, the PITI. Again, you're looking at if there's a homestead on it, is there PMI, private mortgage insurance. You're looking at the insurance rate. Can you probably drop that? What can you reduce that PITI? Number 4, you're looking at what the interest rate is, right? The lower, the better, but it's not a deal killer, because it depends on how either you or your end buyer is going to analyze it and underwrite that deal. And 5th and finally, you're looking at the specific interest rate, if it's fixed or variable. One more thing on the interest rate, right? I just remembered, because I had a buyer that we wholesaled a deal, and what they did is they flipped it, right? So they don't care about the interest rate can be 8, as long as the numbers make sense from them from a monthly payment standpoint. It might not even make sense from a monthly standpoint, because there's so much equity built in the deal that their plan is to buy subject to, because they're coming to close with less cash up front. They're leveraging the existing loan or debt in place by the homeowner, right? Helping them get out of the pre-foreclosure situation, but they plan on flipping it down the line a few months. So it doesn't matter if they're paying a little more monthly, because it's better than getting a hard money loan, right? And paying all those points up front. So they might pay like the loan on the interest rate on loan might be 7%. They don't matter. It doesn't matter to them because they're going to be selling this property and they have like maybe 100K built in. They're going to flip it and make their money back, and the interest rate doesn't matter. So I'm saying all this because it's key you understand the key components you're looking for when you're analyzing subject to from a financial standpoint, and also understand who your end buyer is if you decide to wholesale that, right? Because you want to know what they're looking for. And at the same time, it's key that you're getting all the proper ingredients, because as you're cooking this meal to either close this deal yourself, because we all do know you make the money when you make your profits when you buy, or you're wholesaling it, you have all the components in place. So that's part one. Part two, we're going to go over some more financials of the 6 things you want to look at when you're properly analyzing the subject to deal. And when you do, man, it's just win-win, baby. So anyway, this is Tim with AB Group Real Estate. We also have a Instagram page for our mobile homes. It's called Cash Mobile Homes. Just follow us on there, and you can learn about mobile home investment. Follow us on their journey. So anyway, till then, we'll talk, and I'm out. Peace.